Lagos never truly sleeps. Even at dawn, its heart pulses, kiki horns, restless hawkers, loud prayers leaking from church speakers. Somewhere under the faded flyover near Oberland, a boy stared. No bed. Just broken cardboard on concrete. No alarm. Just the cry of a cockerel and a mother scolding her child down the road. His name was barely known. Most people called him Smiley. He was no more than 20, but life had wrung out his youth too soon. His skin was warm brown, toughened by sun and soot. His clothes. A faded blue t-shirt with a hole near the armpit, and black trousers that had been washed so many times, they looked grey. His tray sat by his side, dented, but loyal. It held the only thing he owned in the world, oranges. Bright, sweet, neatly stacked, like treasure. He sat up slowly, wiped sleep from his eyes, and looked toward the waking city. Another day, he whispered. God abeg. With a piece of cloth tied around his waist, he cleaned his fruits, humming as he walked. His lips never stopped moving, sometimes muttering prayers, sometimes imagining conversations that would never happen. He had a secret, he dreamed of more. Not riches. Not fame. Just a place. A home. A name that meant something. Meanwhile, on the island, across the bridge, past the chaos, beyond the vendors and the downfall shouts, sat a mansion. Not a house, a palace of glass and marble tucked away in Lekki Phase 1. Palm trees swayed gently along the driveway. The gates were taller than dreams, and guarded like a vault. Inside that house, Adana Obianuju stared blankly at her reflection. Silky brown skin. Long, straightened hair falling past her shoulders. Eyes that held a strange sadness despite their shine. Her robe was made of silk imported from Italy. A gold anklet dangled as she moved across her room. Today was her 25th birthday. There would be a photo shoot later. A brunch with society's finest. A gift she already guessed, probably another car. Another designer bag. Another meaningless show of love from a father who had never asked if she was okay. She turned to her closet, full of everything. Yet somehow, she still felt empty. Adana wasn't arrogant. She wasn't even interested in fame or money. She had seen it all and found no thrill in any of it. She wanted something real. Something raw. Something that didn't come with security guards or social expectations. But she didn't know what that thing was. So she dressed. She smiled. She stepped into her life like a performance. Back in Oberland, Smiley, though no one really knew his full name, began his daily hustle. He weaved through traffic like water, dodging insults and downfall mirrors. His voice was soft but steady. Buy sweet orange, 100 Nigerian nairas. Clean, fresh. Some ignored him. Some shouted. Some pitied him and bought too. He didn't beg. Never. He just sold. With dignity. Children liked him. They said he looked like someone from a movie, sharp jaw, deep eyes, always smiling, even when tired. But the street didn't care about beauty. It cared about hustle. By 9 a.m., he had sold only 5. He wiped sweat off his brow and rested by a bus stop, watching men in suits walk past without a glance. Still, he whispered, one day. 2 words begin to tilt. Adana's convoy moved like a wedding, 4 black SUVs with tinted windows, police escort in front. The cars rolled past Marina, past Folomo, past lives that would never know her name. Inside, Adana looked out at the city. It always amazed her. How much Lagos held, how much people endured. She saw hawkers. She saw traffic. She saw children laughing barefoot. And then, just as they passed Oberland Junction, something caught her eye. A boy. Young. Brown-skinned. Tall. walking in the opposite direction with a tray of oranges on his head, arms swinging like a dancer. His face, calm, focused. And then, it happened. She blinked. He turned slightly. Their eyes met through tinted glass. But only for a second. The car moved. The boy disappeared. She didn't even realize she was still staring. She shook her head and smiled. Imagine, she muttered. As if I just saw a prince in traffic. Her assistant looked confused. You said something, Ma. Adana smiled again and looked out. Nothing. But something had started. Something small. Like a whisper in a storm. Like orange juice trickling down Faith's chin. Lagos evenings had a strange way of pressing down on your chest. The air was thick. Not just with heat, but with the weight of 1,000 lives chasing something. From the balcony of the Obianuju estate, Adana looked down at the poolside garden. Soft jazz played from hidden speakers, but her mind was far from the music. She was wearing a white silk jumpsuit and flat sandals, her natural curls combed out and pinned in a halo around her head. She looked stunning. Everyone said so. But inside, her heart was tired. Beneath her, event planners moved like ants across the lawn. White chairs, golden lights, rose arches, everything was already being arranged. For a wedding she didn't want. Her wedding. A match made in millions. His name was Toby Ajayi, son of a minister and heir to one of Nigeria's biggest oil conglomerates. They had met only 5 times before her father declared him perfect. He's from our circle, Ada. He understands our world, Chief Obianuju had said, tapping his walking stick for emphasis. Understand. That word always bothered her. Why did she need to be understood like a company balance sheet? Toby was tall, smooth-talking, always dressed in the most expensive suits. He called her babe and queen, but never asked how she was really doing. And when he did touch her, it was never soft. Just possession masked as affection. Adana had smiled through it all. The dinners. The press photos. The engagement shoot with a sunset background and a rented yacht. Because what else could she do? She didn't want shame. Didn't want to fight her father. Didn't want the world saying, Adana's too picky, again. So she wore the diamond ring and nodded politely as the wedding was planned in her name. That night, as fireworks cracked quietly over the lagoon, Adana whispered to herself, if this is love, why does it feel like a transaction? She had no answer. But then, a memory flickered. That boy. The one with the oranges. It had been barely a second. One glance. But she had replayed that moment every night since. Something in his eyes didn't ask for anything. Didn't want her money. He just existed, calm, dusty, unbothered. And that made him unforgettable. Meanwhile, in the market streets. Under the yellow streetlight near the Ojulegba roundabout, Smiley finished counting his last sale for the day, 700 Nigerian nairas. Not bad. Not great. But enough to buy bread and water and maybe pay Mama Sod for space to lay his head under the canopy. He had passed the same glass convoy again that day, the same black SUVs with the police siren. He didn't see her this time. But he felt something. A shift. Like the wind had turned direction just for him. He chuckled to himself. See me daydream again, he muttered. Then, a voice behind him. You're always smiling. Even when traffic nearly crushes you. He turned sharply. A young woman, in a simple yellow top and black jeans, a cap pulled low over her face. She looked rich, but disguised. Her voice was familiar. Why? She asked again. Why do you smile so much? He blinked, tray still balanced on his head. He hesitated. Because if I frown, madam, them no go still dash me mansion. So I just smile they go. She laughed. Just a little. Then she looked him in the eye. Their words slowed again. But this time, before he could ask her name, a car horn blared and her driver waved frantically. She turned, walked away, and was gone. Smiley stood frozen for a few seconds. He didn't know who she was. She didn't tell him her name. But something had changed. In her eyes, he saw sadness. In her laugh, he heard longing. And for the first time, he didn't feel invisible. Back at the mansion, Adana sank into the back seat of the SUV, heart pounding. "What was that?" her assistant asked. Adana blinked. "Nothing," she whispered. "Just someone selling oranges." But deep inside, her chest ached. Because for the first time in months, she felt seen. And that scared her more than anything. Adana hadn't been able to sleep properly in days. Every morning she woke up with the image of his face, dirt-smeared but honest, glowing with the kind of peace even money couldn't buy. She didn't know his name. She didn't even know where he stayed. But her mind couldn't let go. She started asking questions subtly. First, she told her driver. "That orange boy at Oberland, you know him?" He shrugged. "There are plenty like that, more." Then she asked her makeup artist, who lived near Mushin. "Do boys really sleep under the bridge?" The answer was yes. Many of them. Some sold oranges, some just survived. And so, Adana stopped asking. But she started looking. Elsewhere, in the guttered streets. Smiley was pacing. Not walking, pacing. Something had gone missing. His tray. Not the oranges, those he could buy again. But the tray had been with him since he was 15. It was rusted, chipped at the edge, but it was his only constant. "Wetin I go do like this?" he muttered. He had been chased by LASMA officers earlier that day while crossing third lane at CMS. In the confusion, he dropped the tray and ran. By the time he came back, it was gone. He sat on the edge of a gutter and rested his head in his hands. "God, I dey try. I know they steal. I know they beg. Why everything still hard?" Then, a child's scream cut through the air. Smiley shut up. Across the road, a little boy, no older than 7, was crying and running aimlessly between two parked cars. Cars swerved, drivers shouted. Without thinking, Smiley bolted. In seconds, he crossed the road, grabbed the child mid-run, and shielded him from an oncoming Okada. "Hey! You won't die," the bike man yelled. Smiley ignored him. He looked at the child. "Are you okay? Where's your mama?" The boy sobbed, pointing. "I lost her." "Okay. We go find Smiley carried him gently, shielding him from the chaos, scanning the crowd. Minutes later, a woman in a lace blouse and dramatic galley came running. "My son!" she cried. "Oh my God!" She knelt, hugging him. "Where did you find him?" Smiley smiled. "He nearly entered road. I just help." She stood, adjusting her wrapper, and looked closely at him. "Wait." He looked familiar. The dusty orange seller. She had seen him somewhere. In the background. In a convoy traffic jam. With Adana. "You saved my son," she said, more calmly. "Do you know who I am?" He shook his head. "I'm Auntie Rose. I raised Chief Obianuju's daughter." His heart paused. Obianuju. As in the billionaire. As in Adana. Back at the estate, Adana was reading in the garden when Auntie Rose walked in breathless. "Madam Ada, you won't believe who saved my junior today." She told the story with flair, the child, the near accident, the barefoot boy who came like a shadow and saved the day. Adana leaned forward. "What did he look like?" "Tall. Brown-skinned. No shoes. Sharp eyes. And clean teeth. Her heart skipped. What was he selling? Oranges. Silence. Adana stood. Auntie Rose. Please. Help me find him. Find him, Ko. Why? I just want to say thank you. Auntie Rose gave her a long, amused look. I go try. Meanwhile, Toby Ajayi sipped wine at a private rooftop club. The city lights blinked like they knew his name. He looked good, gold watch, imported loafers, pressed kaftan. But his eyes were cold. His friend laughed over the phone. You dey marry billionaire daughter oh. How you hold Toby chuckled. Simple. Her papa wants legacy. I give him that. As for Adana, he paused. She go fall in line. She just stubborn small. He lit a cigar. Besides, who she won't run to? One of those broke artists or hawkers. He laughed again, loudly. The camera on his friend's phone was on. And someone, somewhere, was watching. That same night, Smiley sat on the cold pavement, his stomach empty, but his heart strangely full. For once, he didn't feel invisible. He had saved a child. A big madam had thanked him. It wasn't much. But to him, it was everything. He didn't know that as he sat there, dusty and quiet, his name had already entered a billionaire's house. He didn't know that a girl with everything had started to pray to see him again. He didn't know that a storm, gentle but powerful, had already begun. The Obianuju estate rarely let strangers in. The gate was always guarded. The garden always trimmed. The world outside, noisy, dusty, unpredictable, was never allowed to stain the white tile floors of the mansion. But today was different. Auntie Rose had done something unthinkable. She brought in the orange seller. She found him 2 days after the rescue, at the same junction, same tray, same smile. You, she called, stepping out of her black jeep. Come here. Smiley turned, cautious. Do you remember me? He nodded. Yes, Ma. Your son, Junior. She smiled. You get memory. Good. Madam Adana wants to see you. He blinked. Who? Chief's daughter. His legs nearly gave out. I didn't do anything wrong. She raised a hand. Relax. She just wants to thank you. He didn't believe it. Nobody wanted to thank orange sellers. Nobody wanted to hear their names. But still, he went. When they reached the estate, the guards looked at him like an error. A glitch in the system. Auntie Rose whispered something. They stepped aside. Smiley's eyes widened. Marble floors. Glass railings. A swimming pool bigger than the school he used to squat behind. Air conditioning everywhere. Clean silence. Sit here, Rose told him, guiding him to a small shaded corner of the garden. He sat, knees tied together, tree balanced beside him like a loyal dog. He was still barefoot. He hated that. Adana didn't dress up. No makeup, no jewelry. Just a simple white blouse and jeans. Hair tied back. When she stepped into the garden, she froze. There he was. Exactly as she remembered. Dark brown skin. Dust on his ankles. A quiet strength in the way he sat. Eyes that held the sky. He stood up quickly. Tray in hand. Unsure if he should bow, kneel, or run. Sit, she said softly. He obeyed. Silence sat between them for a few seconds. Then she smiled. You saved someone I love. Thank you. He nodded, words slow. I only did what any human being should do, Ma. She looked at him. What's your name? He hesitated. Ifani, he said at last. But people just call me Smiley. She laughed gently. Funny. That's a strong name. Means nothing is impossible, he added, glancing up. Their eyes met. Something shifted. Footsteps approached. Toby. Sharp cologne. Loud Gucci slippers. Jaw clenched like he owned the soil. Babe, he said. I've been looking. He stopped mid-sentence. His eyes scanned Smiley. The tray. The feet. What's this? He said, chuckling. You're interviewing for a houseboy. Adana's face hardened. He's a guest. Toby's brow lifted. A guest. He turned to Smiley. Guy, you don't belong here. I hope you didn't come to beg. I said he's a guest, Adana repeated, firmer. Toby scoffed and turned to leave. Your father will hear about this. When he was gone, Smiley looked down. I should go. But Adana touched his hand. No. Stay a little. Please. They sat again. Talked about Lagos. About oranges. About how he learned to cut fruit with one hand. About how she hated her upcoming wedding cake flavor. He made her laugh. Not like the polished laughs she gave at galas. This was real. From the chest. From surprise. When he finally stood to leave, she walked him to the gate. And just before he crossed it, she said, I hope I see you again, Ifani. He smiled, one dimple breaking through the dust. You will. But inside the mansion, behind a closed door, Toby was already texting someone. Send 2 boys to Oberland. I want you to scare one orange seller. Tall. Brown. Answers to Smiley. Because Toby didn't just feel threatened. He felt exposed. And men like him always strike first. The morning after their meeting, Ifani felt taller. Not because he had more money, he didn't. Not because life was suddenly easier, it wasn't. But because someone important, had called him by his name. Not boy. Not Smiley. Ifani. She had said it like it meant something. He replayed her words in his mind as he walked toward the usual traffic stop with a fresh tray of oranges, stacked like golden suns. He wore the same faded trousers, but he had washed them the night before. His shirt had a tear under the sleeve, but he didn't care. Today felt different. Until it didn't. It happened near the Oberland pedestrian bridge, just before rush hour. He had just sold 2 oranges to a woman with 3 kids when 2 tall boys in black came out of nowhere. No uniform. No expression. Just dark shades and clenched fists. Now you be Smiley. Before he could answer, a punch to the ribs took his breath away. Another to his back. His tray hit the ground. Oranges rolled into the gutter. He gasped. Wetin I do? Your face dey appear for where e no belong, one of them hissed. This your hustle, shift arm. Then a final kick to the chest sent him stumbling to the ground. They disappeared into the crowd like smoke. No one helped. No one stopped. A woman with a basin of bananas crossed the road without looking twice. That's what the streets do. They don't care. Adana sat at the breakfast table, fingers tapping her teacup. Her mind hadn't left a funny smile since last night. The softness in his voice. The way he spoke like someone who had nothing, yet lacked no peace. She wanted to call him. But she didn't have his number. She wanted to find him. But she didn't want drama. Then Auntie Rose ran in, holding her phone. Come quick. She showed her a video. It was already circulating on WhatsApp. Blurry, but clear enough, 2 boys attacking a young fruit seller. One of them whispered his name before the beating started. Adana dropped her cup. She stood. Her voice was low. Where was this? Oberland. She didn't blink. Get the driver. Now. By the time Adana arrived, Efoni was sitting by a gutter, holding his ribs. His oranges were scattered. His tray was broken again. Blood trickled from his lip. But his face, still calm. She ran toward him. People stared. Phones came out. He looked up, shocked. What are you doing here? She knelt beside him, not caring that her designer trousers were touching Lego soil. Who did this? He looked down. Just boys. Street things. Don't lie. I don't know. But I fit guess. Adana's fist clenched. Her heart burned. She stood, turned to her driver. Get his tray. Get new oranges. We are going. Going where, Ma? She looked at Efoni. Home. It was like thunder walking into a cathedral. Efoni stood in the middle of the Obianuju sitting room, fresh shirt given to him by a guard. Plasters on his face. Still barefoot. Chief Obianuju stepped down the stairs, pausing. When he saw the boy. What's this? Adana stood between them. Daddy. This is Efoni. And someone sent people to hurt him. The chief raised a brow. Why is he in my house? Because he saved Rosie's son. Because he saved me. And because I brought him. The chief's eyes sharpened. You think this boy is special? I know he is. Chief turned to the driver. Drop him where you picked him. Adana stepped forward. No. Everyone froze. Even Efoni's mouth parted in disbelief. I said no, Adana repeated. I'm not leaving him outside again. Not until we find out who did this. Silence. Then the chief walked away slowly. He didn't speak again. But the house shook from the silence he left behind. Later that night. In a quiet room beside the servant quarters, Efoni sat on a clean bed for the first time in years. Adana stood by the doorway. I'm sorry, she whispered. He smiled weakly. It's not your fault. I think it is. He looked at her gently. Then maybe it was worth it. She looked at him, really looked. This wasn't a crush anymore. This was a spark. A storm. A dare. And she knew, deep in her bones, the battle had just begun. She was supposed to marry the richest man in the city. But she chose the boy who sold oranges in traffic. He gave her peace. She gave him a reason to hope. But the world wasn't ready. They beat him. She stood by him. And now, she's left her father's mansion for a one-room apartment. But wait. Who is Efoni really? What secret from his past could shake everything? And why is Toby more dangerous than ever? Part 2 is where secrets explode. Are you ready? This story isn't over. Backhand index pointing right. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel. And comment where you're watching from. Part 2 drops soon, and trust me, you don't want to miss it.